United consciousness where one consciousness, one being is more than just a belief. It's a movement, a global initiative that unites us all in the pursuit of peace, spiritual wisdom, and universal happiness. It's a global mission that's touching life across continents. If you have ever felt the need for connection, spiritual guidance, or just a sense of belonging, you are in the right place. Welcome to United Consciousness. United Consciousness is not just an organization. It's a living, breathing community dedicated to enhance the holistic well-being of over 3 lakh individuals worldwide. Our mission is simple yet profound. One consciousness, one being. We believe that by connecting with our higher selves and each other, we can live lives filled with purpose, meaning, and fulfillment. Together, we are building a global community that shares this vision, helping each other unlock our full potential. With the presence in over 100 countries, United Consciousness is here to help you thrive in this complex world. So why wait? Join us on this transformative journey. Let's create a world where peace and happiness are not just a distant ideal, but a tangible reality we can all experience here and now.
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. Welcome to the panel discussion, which is part of the ESG series that we've been running as part of United Consciousness. The panel discussion today is on the Gurukul model and lifelong learning in corporate training. Today's event is being brought to you by United Consciousness, as we just saw, and supported by United Global Peace Foundation. We are indebted to the Power Management Institute, PMI, NTPC Limited also for partnering with us. PMI is NTPC's learning center, driving capability and innovations across the power sector. Key focus areas being leadership development, emerging technologies, capability and innovation, digital competencies, etc., that they keep working on. And they've been awarded and recognized for their work from across the industry and the globe, some of them being ATD, Brandon Hall, and many other reputed awards and recognitions that have come their way. So, coming to why are we here today? So today we stand at a fascinating crossroad as a generation. On one hand, we are navigating the 4th industrial revolution, as all of us love to call it, where skills have a shorter life than ever before, and including the mind share that you can get of the people. On the other hand, we're looking at the Gurukul model, an ancient Indian educational framework built on mentorship, holistic development, and pursuit of mastery. The question we are here to answer is, can a model from the Vedic era solve the talent crisis of the AI era? By blending the Guru-Shishya, or as we love to call it nowadays, the mentor-mentee bond, with the modern mandate of lifelong learning. We move beyond simple upskilling towards a culture of continuous evolution. To help us navigate this, we are joined by 3 visionary leaders who do this day in and day out, who bridge the gap between traditional wisdom and corporate excellence. We have Mr. Gopalji Mehrotra, Ms. Anupama Singh, and Ms. Rachana Singh Bhal. I request Mohsin to please play the introduction videos of the panelists.
We are delighted to welcome Shri Gopalji Mehrotra, an inspiring and multidimensional leader whose remarkable career reflects strategic brilliance, human-centered leadership, and an unwavering passion for transformation. Currently serving as the Group Chief Human Resource Officer at ACME, he partners with board and CEOs to steer large-scale global HR, business, digital, and cultural transformation programs for organizations at pivotal inflection points. With over 3 decades of distinguished experience across 6 industries, FMCG, manufacturing, pharma, automobiles, IT, chemicals and energy, and exposure to work cultures in 21 countries. Shri Mehrotra has played a pivotal role in deriving accelerated global expansion, mergers and acquisitions, leadership developments, and the building of future-ready workplaces. His leadership contributions span ITC, Cantametal, Zensar Technologies, Malian Pharma, HPCL, Mittal Energy, and his own entrepreneurial venture, Asterix Consulting. A revered ICF Master Certified Coach, CXO mentor, keynote speaker, and B-School faculty, he is deeply admired for his ability to engage, enable, empower, his personal motto. His thought leadership lies at the intersection of AI and the future of work, national skilling, and enterprise leadership development. A recipient of honors such as the LSD Trailblazer Award 2023 and Influential HR Leader of 2025, he also champions CSR for women empowerment, community development, and heritage preservation. Beyond the corporate sphere, he is an adventurer, history enthusiast, and nature lover, reflecting a personality that is grounded, visionary, and truly inspiring. So, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together to welcome Shri Gopalji Mehrotra. It's my honor to welcome and introduce Ms. Rachana Singh Bhal. She is an exemplary leader and the Chief General Manager at NTPC, India's premier power company, bringing over 34 years of diverse experience to her role. A gold medalist in electronics, instrumentation control engineering from Harvard Institute, she also holds an MBA in Operation Research and a PG diploma in HR, alongside being a certified energy auditor. Throughout her distinguished career at NTPC, she has excelled in corporate engineering, power plant maintenance, and various HR functions, including industrial relations and employee development. Currently, she heads the strategic HR and talent development functions, overseeing recruitment, manpower planning, and innovative programs in emerging technologies like AI and blockchain. Her strategic vision also encompasses employee well-being and holistic development initiatives, emphasizing leadership and technical capabilities. Her commitment to continuous learning is evident from her participation in STEAM leadership programs at Harvard IIM's Calcutta and training in Japan on TQM. Additionally, she contributes to the board of NSPCL and NVVN, while actively engaging in prominent forums such as G20 and C2. Her dedication has been instrumental in garnering numerous awards for NTPC in learning and development, showcasing her exceptional leadership and commitment to excellence. So, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together to welcome Ms. Rachana Singh Bhal. We are delighted to warmly welcome Ms. Anupama Singh, a seasoned human resource leader whose career reflects strategic depth, people-centric vision, and steadfast leadership. Currently serving as Vice President Human Resource at Concentrix since December 2013, she plays a pivotal role in shaping compensation and benefit strategies for a diverse workforce of over 20,000 employees across 6 countries. With more than 2 decades of rich experience in HR, Anupama has successfully led global compensation frameworks, adaptive reward system, and regional HR operations as Senior Director, Global Compensation and Benefits, and GM HR Asia Pacific. Her earlier tenure at IBM Global Process Service strengthened her expertise in wage optimization and performance-linked rewards, while her foundational experience at McDonald's India honed her marginal and customer-centric approach, academically grounded with a PGDBA in HR from Symbiosis and a BA in Psychology from Delhi University. She is known for her analytical acumen, empathetic leadership, and ability to align people's strategy with business growth, making her an inspiring force in modern HR leadership. So, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together to welcome Ms. Anupama Singh. The moderator of this panel is Dr. Shrikant Vadapalli. He is an organization design and capability architect, presently heads organization capability of GEO and is also the head of GEO Platforms Academy. He is a result-driven and a strategic organization leader with a proven track record of driving transformative change and enhancing operational efficiency. As an accomplished organization capability head, he brings a wealth of experience in developing and executing comprehensive strategies to optimize organization effectiveness, foster innovation, and elevate performance standards. His expertise lies in aligning people, processes, and technology to achieve overarching business objectives in domains like organization development, organization design, talent management, international talent marketplace, learning and development, learning technologies, business partnering, knowledge transactions, organization culture, and employee engagement. He has been recognized for his work by numerous prestigious HR bodies, international universities, and won many awards in the field of human resources. He is also on the Harvard Business Review Advisory Council.
Thank you for those introductions, and I'm sure all four of us feel extremely, we have a lot of humility when we sit here. These introductions, very well done by United Consciousness, always take us actually back to the entire journey. I think people like us who've been in corporate, and it's an aha moment for us also where we've reached in life and how hard or whatever it's been this entire journey. All right, with that, let's quickly jump into why we are here today. So I'll straight away go to Mr. Gopalji Mehrotra, the first panelist. So my question for you, sir, is in the era of rapid digital transformation that we are seeing today in the country, how can the traditional Shishya-Guru relationship of the Gurukul model be adapted and to bridge the skill gaps in large-scale conglomerates, especially like yours?
Thanks, Shrikant. Just an audio check. Am I doing fine?
You're audible, sir. Yes, you're good.
Okay. Well, thanks for the question. And of course, the digital transformation is lightning fast because AI works without doubt, without fatigue, without hesitation. And it assimilates knowledge at a pace where no combined analytical body of humans can match it. In fact, AI can deliver outcomes even before you have the time to train humans to do it.
True.
But one thing that will remain essentially human, and that is judgment. Now, judgment is not gut feel or instinct, but in the words of Professor Andrew Leikerman, the former dean of LBS, it is born out of real life experiences, which, by the way, AI cannot replicate. So judgment in the corporate world is born out of the apprenticeship ladder. That is, one spends hours, perhaps years, of mastering skills under a tutor. So in the current corporate world, this is akin to authentic mentoring and holistic coaching, where leaders, that is the gurus, they shape lives and not simply oversee tasks. And here the recipients, that is the Shishyas, they adopt, learn, and adapt for success in their careers. So this is how the Guru Shishya Parampara, can get translated, it can get fructified in the corporate world, where unlike the modern institutional education, this bond is deep and personal, and it focuses on transformation of the Shishya. So this is how, of course, in your introduction, you alluded to the mentor-mentee relationship. So this relationship and the way I have described it, this is how Guru Shishya Parampara can still take shape in the AI lightning fast world.
Excellent. And that was amazing. A lot of insight coming our way. So I'll take a lead from that question and move on to the next question, which I would like Anupama ma'am to please give us her insight on it. Gopalji spoke about decision making and how that is going to be pivotal, and that is what something that AI really won't be able to help us with as we move ahead. Although technology buffs claim that over a period of time, machine learning will take over. And these are two schools of thought. But I think a lot of decision making comes from character building. All right. So in the high intensity, the kind of services we see, the knowledge services, the BPO services, the Gurukul's model focuses on character building, which is often overlooked while we get into the corporate kind of a setup. So how can global organizations integrate behavioral and ethical grounding into their standard technical training modules? Anupama ji, all yours.
Thank you. Hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can, loud and clear.
That's a very good question, because when we look at businesses like ours, and there are many companies in our industry, right? Whether it's a process that we have or it's a tool that we have, pretty much everything can be copied one to the other. It's not rocket science. Anybody can take it and copy it. But what really differentiates one organization from the other in our space is actually that character that you spoke about of the organization. And that character is built with individual characters of people and how they interact, because our business is built on human interaction. And if there is anything that nobody, including AI, can predict, it's probably human behavior. It can predict it up to a certain extent, but at the last minute, everything can change. So, when we are having thousands of interactions with people around the world every day, character actually is at the center of all of that. And so for us, as we think about it, in an organization and individuals, you talk about values, and in organizations, we talk about culture. So for us, we are very, very deeply rooted in our culture as an organization. And for us, that is the North Star. So not just in our training, but as we look at our journey of the organization, of an employee spending time with us, whether it is in how we train them, or how the rewards and recognition functions, or how our learning and development structures are created, they are all then centered around that culture. We inherently train everybody on what the Concentrix culture is and how they can imbibe that and how they reflect that. We reward people on how they demonstrate alignment to the culture or how they live the culture. We very frequently talk about, when you're talking about people's interactions with each other, it is a reminder of the time of the culture to be the North Star to our performance management. Pretty much everything has embedded that, because for us, unless you have that bit sorted, you really cannot succeed. So more and more, I feel, as AI takes over, that human element and that character element will actually become even more important than it ever has been.
Amazing. But your answer just takes me back on a lighter note. What AI can do, as people claim, maybe decision making. AI has biases just like we humans do. One thing AI can't be ever is fickle-minded as we humans are.
Absolutely.
So we can change our decision in the last minute,
Absolutely.
which nobody will ever expect.
Absolutely.
So I think that's why we beat AI completely, because the context changes every second. And when you're there present in that second is when you're able to take that last minute decision.
Absolutely.
So in complete agreement. So we spoke about decision making when we started with Gopalji, then we moved on to you. We spoke about character. I would like to move to a third panelist, Rachana ji. Again, a huge conglomerate. And Rachana ji, NTPC deals with critical infrastructure, and all of us are aware of that, and long-term projects. They're, agile, I would love to understand how does agile come into play when it comes to an organization like NTPC, where projects are such long term. We towards the information technology side talk about, minimum viable product, proof of concept, weekly huddles, daily stand-ups. So when NTPC deals with this kind of critical infrastructure, how can the Gurukul philosophy of patience and mastery be reconciled into the corporate world? Especially the demand for agile and micro learning. How does it come to play when you're looking at this kind of long-term projects that is a part of your life? I don't think NTPC can stand up ever, and correct me if I'm wrong, ye ek hafte mein hum deliver kar denge, because your scale of projects is such, it really can't happen. So how does agile and micro learning come into play when it comes to NTPC?
Yeah. Thanks, Dr. Shrikant. A great question. First and foremost, since PMI is the partnering institute, from the deepest core of my heart, I extend a Deep gratitude to United Consciousness Global for partnering with the Power Management Institute, the EPICS Learning Center of NTPC. And in fact, a very relevant topic, especially for big sectors like us, Gurukul model and lifelong learning in corporate training. In fact, it's gaining more and more relevance nowadays. See, of course, we can't say that NTPC is a big company. It's a Maharatna public sector into the energy domain. So we can't say we'll deliver in one week or 1 month, but if we have a schedule of 3 years, we deliver much faster than that. So that is how we are growing, and we are growing at a very fast pace. Talking about the Gurukul model, yes, NTPC or any other big corporate or small corporate, we all work for profits. Profit is, of course, our prime motive. But profits can't come just like that. It's the humans which will bring the profits. And you need to have motivated employees, expert employees, technically expert employees to run an organization. But along with it, I think it is the holistic development which is most important, and of late gaining great momentum, because it is very important for an employee to be motivated, to have that physical, well-being, and of late the mental health has to be really strong if a person has to perform. So, keeping that in mind, and in fact, it is part of all our modules, all important modules at different levels, right from the start. We are focusing a lot on values and ethics. So, be it a hardcore program, a technical program, say for new recruitees, it could be a month-long, 2-month-long program, but we focus, the initial part will always focus on values and ethics, because it has to be ingrained, it has to be imbibed by all the employees. So values, ethics, governance across all levels, we have realized the importance of these modules. They were there, but now in a more structured manner. And even for senior leadership, it's very important for them, to walk the talk. So that thing is coming at all levels. And if we talk of patience and mastery, it will come through, I think, if you are very strongly, in your values, ethics. So these things do come. Now, organizations, of course, there's a big requirement to be agile, to have mobility, to take new challenges, risk taking, faster decisions, technically very competent in your domain, and the sort of disruptions that are coming, that is disturbing the entire ecosystem, is very fast. A lot of disruptions are happening. And we have so much of competition, we have technological obsolescence. So to take care of everything and to be grounded, it is very important, to have the holistic development of an employee. And that is where we derive these learnings from the Gurukul model, I'll say. Thank you.
Excellent. I think the first round of questions has really set the entire context of how organizations today. And what I love is the way the panelists have been brought in, because, diverse sectors, different perspectives. So from now that you've spoken about organization and industry in general, so I'd like to now put Gopalji a little bit in the spotlight. So Gopalji, from a CHRO's perspective, because you hold that position, and I understand you're not just responsible for learning, but the entire functioning of the organization. How do you think we make that shift from a corporate mindset of one-time training to a Gurukul style of lifelong immersion without compromising on productivity? Because I think this is one aspect that is very common to any industry. Let be manufacturing, huge industries like NTPC, big projects, or IT industries, where anytime we try to pull somebody aside for a training program or anything, the first thing is productivity is going to get hit. The time is very important. Time is equal to money. Do it over a Saturday, Sunday, where the participant is not really keen or interested कि मुश्किल से 1 या 2 छुट्टी मिलती है, उस दिन भी मुझे आप लोगों की शक्ल देखनी पड़ेगी. How do you actually, take it from, that Gurukul, how do you take it to that lifelong learning? How do you set that culture up?
Yes, I've spent about 35 years in manufacturing, so yes, totally agree. It's about time, cost, delivery, quality. And training often is seen as time away from work or not contributing to work. So it's a massive mindset which actually needs to shift from a one-time training to a Gurukul style. Now, because we're talking about a mindset change, allow me to position it like this. We have to see what were the core tenets of the Gurukul system. I know Rachana ji spoke a little about the Gurukul way or the Gurukul life, but what were the core tenets? First, it was total immersion. So the Guru Shishya living in close quarters, allowing learning by observing. Second, oral tradition. You pass knowledge through speech, through dialogue, which enhances critical thinking and deep reflection. Third was, yes, there was trust and devotion in the relationship. The Guru Shishyas were, there was Shraddha and there was Shakti. Devotion and Shakti, the energy flow between the one-to-many or the one-to-one. Fourth, Shrikant, you already brought that up, character development. So training went beyond technical mastery to discipline, patience, humility.
Correct.
Now, these were the tenets of the Gurukul system. Now you compare it with the hustle and bustle of the current corporate world. There is no situation which is ripe for the Gurukul way. In fact, it is not even one-time training. It is more a culture of bite-sized, just-in-time capsules, where impact is transient. Now, how do you shift this mindset? So it's a very large endeavor which calls not for an L&D strategy or certain steps or certain, fix-its. But it actually, the corporate honchos need to relook at the entire philosophy of learning itself. If you really want a mindset change and you don't want a program or certain steps. What comes to my mind is how do you change or how do you reorient this philosophy of learning itself? It's like farming. Like a dedicated farmer, organizations must foster an environment where there is relentless commitment to growth and improvement. Like the farmer oversees the soil, preparing it meticulously for the seeds. They carefully plant the seeds, ensure no overwatering, underwatering, sometimes even allowing them to expose to natural elements. The farmer adds just the right amount of manure, nutrients, nurturing each plant. So there is individuality here. And not just the crop, nurturing each plant with care. Similarly, organizations, if mindset has to change, the organizations have to prepare the groundwork. There has to be a supportive, enriching environment. Plant the seeds. Don't do learning interventions only. Plant the seeds for curiosity and knowledge. And then provide the resources and the opportunities for growth. So in summary, I would say is that to make this shift, celebrating curiosity, embracing learning, it's a lifelong journey. In fact, I have a phrase, learning is daily and lifelong. It is not, a destination, it's a journey. So if we are able to reorient the mindsets to this philosophy, I know it sounds a lot, but that is what, if you are serious about the Gurukul system, that is what, to my mind, would be required.
Excellent, because a lot of points that you spoke about. Point one, I think you're absolutely right. The way a crop from the time of planting or seeds are planted and then it is taken care till it reaches its final form. There's a lot of personalization that comes in. You can't use the same manure, the same watering technique for every kind of crop. So one glove doesn't fit all. So that personalization needs to come in. That's when it starts making sense. And quickly, before I move on to Anupama ji, it took me back to what Mark Twain said. Learning starts in the womb and ends when you reach the tomb. So that's what the entire lifelong learning is all about. You start learning, and over my years, that is spent in this entire career that I've had, I think the interventions that we do as learning professionals or the HR professionals only create an aha moment, because the really real learning starts after that. If you're able to create that aha moment, that is when the real learning begins for that person, from the time he or she steps out of that classroom or that meeting, whatever happened, because that's what draws that person to that concept, and that's when the real lifelong learning will happen. So whatever we try and do, and we feel happy about nudges and pushes and daily bites and all of that. I don't know how much they really help, but yes, that's our part, and we need to keep doing. Sometime or the other, it will strike somebody and they'll take on that journey. With that, Anupama ji, quickly moving on to, now that we've spoken about lifelong learning, Gurukul system, and we spoke to one CHRO, now we're moving to another one. Bring it closer to home to where we are today. With the rise of AI and automation, okay, because we HR, people love to pick up buzzwords every year, and we love to repeat them wherever we go. At one time it was VUCA, then it became Gen Z, Gen Y, Zennials, and now of course AI has taken over. So with the rise of this AI and automation, how does the concept of lifelong learning evolve for a workforce? Okay, that must constantly pivot their core competencies. That's the reason I brought in that a point of personalization. It has to pivot their core competencies to remain relevant. So how's that going to happen?
Yeah, see, if you ask me personally, I'm actually very, very excited about automation and AI, particularly if all things in HR coming into learning, because I think it gives us tremendous tailwinds in terms of developing the workforce. Now, why do I say that? One, we have a multi-generational workforce. We have people as young as 20 stepping into the job for the first time, to people who are in their 40s or their 50s, who have a very different concept of how they learn. They come with different experiences, and how they learn is very, very different. How these two segments of people live their life is actually very, very different. If we think about it, 10 years ago it was very normal for us to be able to sit down in a classroom and go through an 8-hour learning program, and do that even for 2 to 3 days in a week. But if you talk to the generation of today, many of them who are coming in, they are more used to micro learning. They are used to like 2 hours, or what we call the Instagram learning generation, because they look at reels which are a couple of seconds. So sometimes all you have is those seconds to be able to teach them concepts, and you could do it repetitively. Now, if we were doing this without automation and AI, it would be nearly impossible to do it very effectively. Like if I look at just my span of people that we manage, I've got over 100,000 people across 8 countries that we are trying to teach, and or that we're sort of imbibing this learning culture in. And when we look at that, generational gaps, you're looking at cultural diversity, you're looking at geographic diversity, and the only common thread that can tie or that can accelerate that is really learning and AI. So how are we using it to sort of develop capability? We're doing a number of things. We still have some programs that are classroom learning programs that are, either done like a day or a week, etc. But we've now augmented that with online learning. So if you look at platforms like LinkedIn Learning today, they provide a very diverse range of content that we can provide to our people. As we pivot from being role-based organization to being a skill-based organization, having learning platforms like these really give us access to vast amount of content, and content that is constantly being updated. So world-class content. As we look at changing the modes of how we train, can we do micro training versus longer training programs? The only way we can take that to hundreds and thousands of people across multiple countries is with the advent of technology, because you can now create a program and put it on a platform where people are able to use that. So that has really tremendously helped as well. And what we are also marrying that with is really how we look at learning. It is no longer necessarily only about theory. So we're consciously taking a step back and changing the way that we learn, and really looking at, teach or learn, implement and practice, learn from that, and then have mentors that can help you sort of, check your learning, check your thinking. So capitalize on experience and then come back to the classroom one more time. So it's a continuous cycle of learning that really has been aided by AI and technology in a very, very big way for us. So I think, from where I sit and as I look at the learning interventions that we're trying to put into place, most definitely I would say AI and automation have been very, very exciting additions for us to be able to really accelerate our journey in learning and development.
Thank you, ma'am. And somewhere I do agree with you on this point, because I think advent of AI has really helped us reach that concept of hyper personalization.
Yeah, absolutely.
Else, it would have been very difficult for people like us, part of HR, to actually personalize or hyper personalize journeys for people.
Correct.
Uh, and now people have started to see kind of value what's in it for them if they take this journey forward. So it's really helping the learning, atmosphere go forward. All right, Rachana ji. So I think I'll go back to what we were speaking with Gopalji, and Gopalji made some great points when he spoke about the Gurukul, Guru Shishya Parampara and the Gurukul model. So I'm going to pick up one aspect from there. So what role do you believe the physical or the psychological space that used to be part of the Gurukul, proximity to the Guru, as Gopalji said, that entire environment, learning atmosphere that was created, discipline was brought in, plays in fostering deep work and lifelong learning in modern corporate setting. How will we ever be able to create that physical or psychological space when it comes to the corporates?
Yeah. So I think psychological safety and security of the employees is very important. That, of course, goes without saying. And see, nowadays, the way Anupama ji also described, trainings are happening. I mean, training anytime, anywhere, it is happening. So it's a combination of online modules, synchronous online training, uh, physical training. In fact, NTPC has gone into immersive training as well, audio visual, augmented reality, virtual reality modules as well, apart from implementing different AI tools. So it's training, a wide variety of trainings. But the main focus that still remains is, especially for the behavioral, managerial, or when we talk of values, ethics, leadership programs, we want to conduct them in the physical manner. So that, of course, is very important. And one aspect is there that whenever a person joins our company, we assign mentors. Of course, is very relevant in a lot of organizations. The touch point remains. Maybe initially it's physically, being in touch for a year when handholding is happening, but then the relation remains lifelong. It's like a guru shishya. I mean, those who want to take in that aspect, if they can always look forward to, talking to the mentor, that's the guru. Apart from that, a very important point that I would like to bring is, since us, because if I talk about NTPC, we have townships all across the country, projects all across the countries, and townships along with it, which are very vibrant. And we sort of encourage festivities, celebrations. All the festivals are celebrated, all occasions, all milestones, everything is celebrated, and people are together. So that informal relationship also creates a bond. I mean, it's not typically a guru shishya model, but yes, a person is more comfortable, can look up to seniors, superiors, their juniors, subordinates. So that bond is very important. That enabling culture is very important for a person to grow, and that is how we encourage this sort of thing. And especially the focus is try to have in between, maybe 25 to 30%, or in some cases a little more, physical trainings, modules, touch points. So that is how we are focusing on it.
Excellent. Thank you. I think from my perspective, the biggest challenge I face whenever we try and get any of these modules into play, the Gurukul module, it was a little easier till the time it came to a Gen X or a Gen Y. The millennials today, I find it so difficult. Maybe I'm old, but they are. I think it's the clarity. There's no space for discussion left, is what I find, because they are so clear. And this is something I think I need to also learn from them about why they are at a particular place, what is it they want to do, how much time they will spend at that place. They have their entire life sorted out. And when so much clarity is there and there is no ambiguity, there is no space for discussion. So that's the challenge I find when I work with, and especially the kind of industry, especially the technology aspect. it is so difficult for us to actually think about these models and bring them into play. All right, so with that, I'll move to Gopalji again. Gopalji, now we'll move very specific to industry and the organizations that all of you are part of. So ACME Group has been a vast and diverse workforce. We know, and you've had a very diverse experience. You said 27, 28 years of experience that you spent, doing and being associated with manufacturing. I'm sure there must have been many, but any one specific instance that comes to your mind where a mentorship-driven approach or relationship actually made a measurable shift in the leadership culture? Anyone?
Thanks for giving me the leeway, because the situation at ACME currently is that mentorship has not got cemented. These guys are just too busy adding capacity at 35% or so year on year as part of the nation's mission for 500 gigawatt of clean energy by 2030. But specifically, yes, my previous organization, we did this and successfully. So that organization, I mean, it was large, it was successful, with good leadership, but working in silos. So talent was being restricted in these silos rather than being freed up and available for the multiple businesses the organization wanted to expand in. So change was actually sown from the top. What we did was each of the top 50 leaders, they were trained in the art and science of mentoring through immersive workshops. And then each of them took responsibility for 3 mentees from the next level of management. And it was a curated and HR supported 1-year mentoring relationship. Plenty of checks in between, plenty of inputs in between. So that was the first wave. And then we did another wave for these 150 mentees, turning into mentors for the next 450 people. So that was a specific intervention. It was a multi-year intervention. But what happened is that these waves of mentoring, they delivered magical outcomes, because now 2-3 things happened. One is deep personal bonds were formed. I mean, people literally knew more about the other person than possibly their respective spouses. What it led to is that the functional silos thinned, and the whole group, the 50, the 150, the 450, everybody got energized to contributing more than ever through cross-functional business impact projects, enabling the growth needs of the organization.
Amazing.
So I've given a flavor,
Yeah.
not very many details, but a specific mentorship-driven approach where you had good ingredients, but the culture was not really in tune with what the organization wanted for its future. And through this, through encouraging mentoring, through encouraging the relationships with freeing up people and investing in each individuals, that is how you actually got talent freed up, available, energized. And these were the 500 leaders of a massive organization, totally.
Oh, very nice.
So the benefits across the leadership culture were quite palpable.
Very nice. Excellent. Thank you for sharing that. So that gives me a segue into what I'm going to get into with Anupama ji. So Rachana ji spoke about the township culture that brings that bonding together. Gopalji spoke about the mentoring aspect, how that entire wave after wave, created that connection where some of them knew each other better than each other's spouses. May they be happy. Okay. And from there, now, Anupama, you shared with us about the global footprint that you have as part of your organization. And with LinkedIn or AI or any of these coming into play, all of this is mostly virtual, where the connect is also happening virtually. How does that human touch or human element come into play when it comes to learning? Because we as humans, how much ever we love to go to sleep every night thinking, we've evolved and whatever it is. One, we are very bad at asking for help. Okay. We are very bad at even today. Okay. And second, we still need that human touch somewhere. That's the reason every time somebody speaks about AI, I said before AI, all of us spoke about automation. Before automation, we spoke about the IVRs coming into play, how a certain industry will completely die because of the IVRs coming into play. But the reality still remains, the minute the IVR starts playing, the person on that call is still looking for that one number 9 where he can speak to a human, in spite of all the solutions being available on an IVR. Okay. So how do you manage that human touch when it comes to this global footprint that you have?
Yeah, that's a very good point. I think one thing that COVID has taught us is that human interaction is really innate to everything that we do, right? And it is because I remember when we first got into the COVID environment and everybody sort of went to work at home, and the entire world, regardless of country, was so sure that there's no coming back to work. This is the new normal. Everybody will work from home, to then reaching a point where organizations started to realize that those ideas that get exchanged over coffee conversations, or those the collaboration and engagement that happens over a cup of chai, can never be replaced with a Teams call. And so we moved back to hybrid hybrid work environment, to then realizing that actually productivity and engagement are getting hampered quite significantly, and therefore many organizations moved full time back into office. And so I think if anything, that taught us that no matter how much automation is there and no matter what happens, innately human beings have a need to connect with each other. And that is very true in productivity, engagement, but also learning and development, because we learn so much from each other. And so, one of the ways that we have extended that to our learning and development programs is really, like I was saying earlier, that earlier the focus used to be around consuming content and understanding it for yourself, to now where we've made collaboration an inherent part of learning and development. So, so you may do a LinkedIn learning program, but then we will bring a group together to say, now let's exchange our thoughts on what did you learn, because you each saw it from a different perspective. Then let's brainstorm together as a team, and we try and bring more cross-functional teams together, because that further adds diversity to the perspective. Let's broad what you've learned and try and apply it to a business problem and see how can we solve it. And when they come together, not only are they taking what they learned and applying those concepts, but they're also learning, and without sometimes explicitly saying so, they're also learning and applying concepts of teamwork, of collaboration, of negotiation. Because when human beings are interacting with each other and they're working together and they're learning from each other, there are so many skills that are unsaid that are being developed in that interaction. So that, to my mind, is very, very inherent. As we look at learning and development, we're trying to put more and more emphasis not just on the subject of what you're learning, but really around building some of these softer skills, and really around bringing diverse groups together. Because we learned that even if you're talking about a particular subject, if you have a person learning on their own, their ability to absorb it is very, very different than if they're learning it with three people. If they're learning it sitting, even if it's an HR topic, if I am learning it sitting with three people from HR, my learning is very, very different than if I'm sitting in the room with somebody from operations and somebody from WFM. Everybody has been through the same program, but the perspective and application is so much more diverse. And similarly, we're seeing that in generations, like you said, that you have, in the room, you will have somebody who has many years of experience and expertise, and therefore they will say, we should do it this way because I've got my experience. And then you've got a person who's literally couple of months old into working, because that's the audience that's consuming a lot of what you're trying to do. They're saying, you know what, this is not going to work. We have to think about it differently. That clarity, that thought process on how they're doing it is very, very different. So it brings, so, learning sort of doesn't only then get influenced by the subject or the content, but really leveraging those human connections to take what we are, teaching to the very next level is something that we've been experiencing.
Excellent, great point. So that takes me to Anupama. Rachana ji now. Rachana ji, you are the executive director of PMI, and you've seen the evolution of technical training with NTPC. categorically, when we think of NTPC, we know it must be loaded with technical training because of the kind of work that happens around there. Not saying the other kind of trainings don't happen. Can you share a personal epiphany? Because when you speak about the Gurukul model, storytelling has been the way of the Gurukul model. Gopalji also spoke about it, where it's been more of oral narration that's come into play. Even when we look at all the ancient Indic wisdom that's been documented today, they're all stories. Let be the Mahabharata, the Bhagavad Gita, the Vishnu Sahasranam that comes out of there, the Bhagavatam that was written after the Bhagavad Gita, the Holy Bible itself. They're all stories with characters who are narrating, and learnings are being derived from them. So can you share a personal epiphany regarding the power of storytelling, which has been a core of Gurukul tradition, and how it has influenced your way of training in NTPC or the project management training, to be specific, because I guess you guys are all about projects.
Yeah. So when we say storytelling, I think a very important component of the Guru Shishya Gurukul model. And what was storytelling? It was passing on the wisdom, the learnings from the Guru to the Shishya. Now, if I talk about NTPC, we are doing lots and lots of experiential, sessions from the learned people, from our superannuated employees who have vast experience in particular domain, or even the working employees who have been working, who have experience of working under different situations. So this could be related to putting up a project. It could be handling stakeholders or land or anything. So it could be uh, a director HR talking about his experiences over the years, what they faced, how they overcame all those things, all those issues that were coming up. Or it could be very relevant plant related problems, boiler problems. So only specific if you talk of boiler problems or turbine problems, generator problems, hardcore technical. Or it could be safety hazards, some safety, accident happened. What were the learnings? Why near misses? I mean, it could have happened, it didn't happen. So we have a lot on such learnings, especially the preventive and the proactive approaches as well. So we normally, as part of our sessions, I talked about certain physical modules and online as well. But yes, we try during our physical module training. We have planned interventions at different levels for different employees. It could be a 2-week module, maybe after 4 years of an employee's experience in particular area or at particular level. So there we try to call the experts as well, so that they talk about their experiences during that module. And that is a very common feature. It has been happening in all across the modules: technical, behavioral, stakeholder handling, boundary management, all such modules. And also, we have workshops on a regular basis relating to different domains. It could be technical, it could be environment related. And then all these people, all these experts together, they come together with their experiences, share it. There's a lot of peer learning as well. And we compile also those learnings so that other people also know about it. And it is available in our learning management system portal as well. So, and it is widely circulated. So these are the learnings, these are the experiential learning that we try to ingrain in our employees. Thank you.
Excellent, because I think somewhere, thank you, ma'am. Anupama ji also spoke about it's not just about finishing a particular course online, it's also about sharing different perspectives, because everybody looks at the same thing in a different manner. Each one of us in our own fortes has our own battles, so the perspective changes as per the battle that you're fighting. So, and I think that's become a very big factor in learning today, where learning circles have been brought into play, where different people from different, varied backgrounds sit together, discuss, and that's when you understand the complete picture rather than a very biased picture of how you look at something. So excellent point, ma'am. Thank you very much. Gopalji, back to you. Now I'm going to get a little more personal. We've gone from organization to department to now we're going to get into people who are here with us. We'd like to get to know you guys a little more better for the people who are part of this call. You come with such a valued experience that you brought different organizations and the kind of work that you've handled. What was that moment where you felt I need to unlearn in totality? Okay, because times have changed, the way things are happening have changed. I need to unlearn in totality. What I thought would work won't work today. And how do you view talent development today when it comes to how you change your perspective?
So thanks for the question, but sorry to disappoint you. I mean, there's not been one cliff moment or significant unlearning as such, or the aha moment that you referred to earlier.
Okay.
See, because the experience has been long and varied, it's rather an assimilation and refinement of the learning and development approach over the years. And what it has developed into now for me, I call it the freedom in the frame.
Okay.
So the frame remains solidly that learning aids the purpose of all learning is aiding organizational growth and individual success. What has changed for me is that I no longer advise the tiered, structured L&D plan, where you provide level-wise, function-wise, competency programs, because frankly, job descriptions, roles, career ladders, they're all transitory in a skill-based rather than a role-based talent landscape.
True.
So if we stuck to, what happened in my first decade, second decade, and then if we stuck to providing or nurturing talent for a structured organization, we would get lost in that role-based organization and our talent would get confused and possibly disenchanted. So many large organizations follow this. I am advocating that we move away from that. Instead, we should have developmental inputs that are tailored, customized. And by the way, this also is in line with the Guru Shishya Parampara we've been talking about, where the input was, yes, the dialogue was with everybody, but the input was customized.
True.
There was a one-on-one relationship. So make it customized. Don't do a one-size-fits-all for any L&D offering. In fact, to introduce, the framework that I like now, it's called the 3 Gs. Let the training and let it be just for you. That is for that individual.
Okay.
So that it is timely, it is apt, and thereby impactful and helpful both to the individual and the organization.
True. I think that was so well said, because my shift over the last 23, 24 years that I've been in the industry, when we started into the entire organization design development space, talent management, I've seen that entire shift from pedagogy to andragogy. Earlier, what we used to work with is what needs to be taught, and today it's moved to what does the person need to know. So that shift has happened, and I think that is what is really helping bringing the concept of skills-based organizations into play, where from one very generic and big aspect of competency, we moved to a granule which used to be part of competency called skills, and then taking that forward, because that is what is going to lead the organizations. Excellent. Anupama ji, moving on to you. I've had many failures in life. I would love to hear if you tell me you've had none. So any one time when you thought, a learning initiative you were very excited about and you felt on paper, oh my God, because this happened with me. It can't get better than this. This is going to change the organization. And then you realize somewhere it was failing. It was not working the way you thought it would work. How did you change it? And what did it actually teach you? What made you to, change that aspect and move ahead?
Yeah, much like what Gopalji said and then what you said, I wish that I could say that there was this one mistake. There have been so many, I mean, more than I can count and more than I can remember. And in those moments, it felt very disheartening. But looking back at it now, I think, couldn't be more glad that those mistakes have happened. So there have been many, many, moments like that, particularly in our organization, because we've scaled quite significantly in the last decade or so, grown almost like 10x in terms of employee size. And there was many, but one that I particularly remember is that when you are scaling that quickly, we were making a lot of new frontline managers. And when you're making frontline managers, people who go from being individual contributors to suddenly managing 20 to 30 people, and that also fairly young people, that's not an easy transition to make. And while in some pockets it was going well, in others it wasn't going so well. So we had one pocket I particularly remember where we had a number of concerns coming up from a set of people saying that my manager, that about their manager, that it wasn't going well, and the performance of the team really wasn't that great either. So we of course designed the whole program around teaching a manager how to be a good manager in terms of giving them all of the functional knowledge that they needed, how to manage your team's performance, and how to read scorecards, and how to read finance, a finance statement, and how to do, I think, the softer aspect of it, coaching. And we took them through all of that. We buddied them with other managers that were doing well, whose teams were doing well, and that should have ideally solved the problem, but it didn't. It didn't solve the problem. And we had to go back and really think that what you're inherently, and it was disappointing, particularly because you're trying to change a behavior, and there's no quick fix for that, right? And in the generation where we live today, we want answers like this, like we want ab kar to diya, 1 month ho gaya, why aren't we seeing results now? Let's measure, and it's been 2 weeks, why isn't this improving, why isn't attrition improving? So it takes a long period of time. So I think one big learning for me was that the way we were approaching empathy and how that had to be taught had to be completely looked at differently. I mean, empathy is not something you can teach in a classroom. You have to put them in situations, sometimes even completely unrelated to work. It could be like going to an old age home for that matter, or doing a CSR activity that really grounds you and really helps you realize that what you need to know and understand and react has to be very, very different sometimes. So looking at how you teach something like empathy to then really coming to terms with the fact that when you're teaching, when you're trying to imbibe empathy into a group, it's not going to happen overnight, because you're asking people to change their behavior, and some of which has been conditioned over so many years. So you really need a lot of patience. And then of course you also have to make some changes in how inherently you're selecting people who you're giving that responsibility to. So working backwards from there as well. So I remember in particular this one experience, that was very, very, that I remember sort of, and it's something that we continue to sort of work towards on an everyday basis. But I think anytime that you're trying to alter or trying to sort of change or influence behavior in any way is probably the hardest in any learning and development initiative that we're doing. And I think the failure is also good, because every time you fail, it is teaching you what not to do, right? So as it's famously said, like I don't remember what I was reading about, but one of those, say, one of these famous inventors, it said that I didn't fail 99 times. I just understood how not to do it. I understood, I think it was about the light bulb or something, 99 times. So I think that is something that we ourselves have to come to terms with, in being able to embrace failure and learning from it, and not letting it hold you back too much. The other thing I find that people tend to do is, when you're failing, you continue to go back and relive that quite a bit. You have to take the lesson from it and move on. So yeah.
Okay, thank you. Rachana ji, NTPC again, huge conglomerate. You've been leading it. One legacy program, okay, which you feel you really nurtured, and it worked when it comes to the spirit of lifelong learner or lifelong learning. Any one that you can think of.
Yeah, there are lots, in fact. And
Yeah, I
when
can.
it comes to, what side you'll take, it becomes a little tougher. But yes, earlier I was listening to Gopalji's, statement about the
Hmm,
learnings, curated, specific. So we do have curated learning paths for all our employees.
mhm,
Uh, I mean, it's available on the LMS, the Learning Management Portal. So if it is an employee at X project and at E4 level, E4 to E6 level, grade wise, we have done, and working in a specific department, say boiler. So
hmm,
the moment he opens the screen, he'll get a curated learning path, which we have taken from GPI Learn also, and certain other paths through companies we have taken. So that is one curated learning path. But if I talk of some, legacy program,
hmm.
very proud to, the age-long program, our executive trainees induction program, we always call it's our flagship program. So what happens is when a a fresh graduate joins our company, since this is hardcore technical company and dealing with operation and maintenance, so we need to provide very well planned, curated training for those employees, and it's unbelievable. But it is 5 month long program. It's in fact a 1 year program, but 5 month is a classroom training in which simulators and certain planned visits and scheme tracing, all those things happen. Although the first week and second week, like I was talking about, values and ethics, corporate to, campus to corporate, those programs happen for first 2 weeks. But then for 14, 15 weeks, it's hardcore operation and maintenance. But then we also have a 1 month long management program for them, which is very special, which is very specific because they need to know about other business apart from, just knowing about their domain knowledge. So in that, what we have, we keep on, fine tuning, curating the modules. And what we have introduced recently is the theater module, a 1 week long theater module, and in which we get it done through NSD, the National School of Drama. So it's a batch size of 25 to 30. And believe me, they enjoy it so much while doing it. It's such a big stress buster. They learn everything that we talk about. It could be leadership, team building, confidence, presentation, collaboration. And it stresses them because long back we started when we were more, generous and had a 1 year long module. We sort of introduced 2 week module, but that was too much. So again, I introduced that at least 1 week I want to give to these behavioral aspects, and it is such a big hit because they're stressed in the sense because it should have been ideally 2 weeks. So it's 1 week at least. I said this is the least I can, squeeze from this busy schedule. So 1 week of this, and the last day they present in our auditorium. We have a beautiful auditorium, so they present, they enact, and it is so good. Believe me, they wear those costumes, these NSC people, and we can't recognize them that these are our own kids, who are undergoing training, dress up like villagers or something, and the entire setup is like this. So I think this is what we need. Some stress buster right from the beginning, because these kids, I don't know what's wrong, but the more you have it, the more stressed they are. Well-being is really important. So this we introduce as a part of the executive trainee module, and it's a big hit. It's a big hit, and it is really helping. So I'm really proud of the executive trainee flagship program that we have, a 1 year program. Out of the first 5 months is there, and then it is on job training. But we always we sort of curate it each time, bringing in new, even in that, on the technical aspects, the newer technology emerging areas, we try to reshape. So proud to have this flagship program of our executive trainees. Thank you.
Excellent. Uh, being part of Reliance Group as such, although I work with the telecom and the digital aspect, but I have a view on the manufacturing as well as retail. One thing that I, wish I lived to see is a management trainee join the organization and retire from the organization, especially
Yeah.
towards the technology side. which I
That's with
see.
me. That's with me. I joined long back, long back.
I still see that somewhere. I don't know if the present generation will actually retire, but I still see long drawn
Yeah,
journeys,
yeah.
career, journeys happening towards the manufacturing side more
Hmm.
as compared to the technology side, because I've worked with both. And there's a very different emotion that is attached when it comes to both, although they're the same generation, but when it comes to career, working in these two sectors. I don't know if Anupama has a lot of them who joined them as management trainees and moved on to retire from the same organization. She's also shaking her head. All right, before we quickly open the session, we've spoken a lot to the people who've joined in, and if they have any questions for our panelists. One last question, quick thoughts. If I have to put our last 1 hour, 15 minutes discussion together, I see we spoke about character, decision making, we spoke about lifelong learning, Gurukul principles, how it's coming, human touch. All of that somewhere accumulates into organization culture, is what I feel. Now, there are two schools of thought that come into play when you speak about organization culture. One is culture is set by the organization at the top and it seeps down. Another school of thought says there's nothing called as organization culture if you are pragmatic enough to look at it and accept it. It says there is a culture that is a direction that is provided by the organization, but every team has a microculture of their own, which then adds up from the bottom to become the realistic organization culture. Which one of these do you think really play a more important role? I won't even say which is important, which shouldn't be there. I guess both of them coexist in many forms. But which of these two is going to be most important if we really have to bring in that lifelong concept of learning in corporates today? I'll go one by one. So, yes, Gopalji, we'll begin with you as usual.
Quick thoughts. Both sides that you put forward are true. See, one is the custodians or the leadership of the organization would like to believe that there is a defined culture, so that there is a goalpost and a guardrail for behavior. But equally, it is palpably true that you can't define something, as amorphous as a culture. At best, you can, rather than say that, okay, this is what we stand for and this is what we do, perhaps it's actually better for people to practice if you say, okay, these are the few things that we don't do.
True.
Because, see, those organizations no longer exist. I mean, possibly Rachana is representing one of them, but, where management trainees, I also joined as a management trainee in ITC some 35 years ago. And they sort of interviewed me. They started the interview from my grandfather. They were more interested in my background than my degree or, technical skills. Because they were recruiting for a particular culture. Well-defined, resource-rich, set. You come and you just sort of join the bandwagon and be happy and continue. Though those things don't exist anymore, even if they existed in some shape or form earlier. So it's a moving thing. So I wouldn't say culture in my experience. I would say, okay, these are our behavioral norms. These are our do's. Some of these are our don'ts. And that's what we practice, because people are going to keep moving in and out, up and about, back and forth. And you can't really hold somebody to, something which is amorphous. Now, in that, your main thing was about learning. So I'll go back to what you said. Learning as a philosophy, learning as a commitment and a nurturance. That can be part of the do's. And after that, then you structure it based on how the business is moving and what the people need. Then you structure it whichever way, which Anupama ji and Rachana ji have already beautifully defined, and some of the interventions that they have run. So that's my take on your question.
Excellent. Quickly, Anupama ji, your thoughts, and then we'll move to Rachana ji and then open it up for people to ask questions if they have. Anupama ji.
So, I'll go back to what I started with saying right at the beginning, that any process, any system that we have can easily be copied. What can't necessarily as easily be copied is the core of who we are, or what we like to define as culture. I think it's an intersection of both. Can you define it, and does it have to be organic? It's really both. Because, when you talk about small teams, culture is not so much what you have defined, even if you define it, it is what you experience with each other every single day. You could have three teams with the same culture statements, but it is in the interaction. It's a smaller group, sort of experience, and you're experiencing the organization through each other and through the people that you're interacting with. So I think in that context, culture is what is lived regardless of what's written on the wall and whether it is defined or not. And then there is the organization, particularly for large ones, where in my personal experience, when we started on this journey about 10 years back of actually writing what our culture statements are, I also questioned a lot of things to say that, is it sustainable? Is it going to help? Even some words in our culture statements, like, are they the right ones? But I found that over a period of time, when you have a large organization and you have many people coming in, having sort of stated culture statements does in some way directionally communicate that for people that are successful, and why we are successful as an organization is because this is what we see as our North Star. And whether how that gets experienced within the organization, more and more the relevance of writing it down becomes lesser and lesser. It moves into how people live, that and live and breathe and interact every single day. So I would say there isn't a right way. It really depends on what time, what instance, what context. But depending on the context, I feel that both of these become important and they have their own place. Just depends on the group that you're in.
Excellent. Thank you. Rachana, your final thoughts.
Yeah. So, culture, I suppose, it's both ways, of course, the top driven and across all layers. Uh, but I would still say the top will have little more responsibility, because they can be enablers, they can be providing, they can be guiding, they can be providing more conducive environment for things, for people to breathe and things to happen, to think differently, to talk freely. So that is what culture is. And in fact, NTPC, of course, is very proud to have a wonderful culture. And we always say, whenever a new person also joins, or even laterally people are joining, that we are proud to have culture. You have to, each person has to contribute to the culture. But yes, seniors have a greater role when it comes to providing an enabling environment. They'll have more say in that. Culture, of course, remains there. It's core to us all. But yes, seniors do have a major role.
Excellent. Thank you very much. With that, we'll open it up for the participants who've joined online to ask questions. When you ask a question, please ensure you tell us which panelists you would like to answer your question. Go ahead, you can ask your questions if there are any. So if there are no questions, then I would like to wrap this up. As we look at the change that's come across, we spoke about from Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, to Guru being a learning facilitator, the way we've evolved. We, of course, realize learning has to remain and learning has to go on. It is a way forward of lifelong learning. With a hope, 4 of us today on this call have been able to contribute 1 minute or 2 minutes to that lifelong learning of yours. That has been the intent of this entire pursuit that we have. And with that, we thank everybody. I thank the panelists for coming in. We thank the PMI Institute of NTPC for partnering with us, and hope to see all of you joining in as we take the series forward. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. Thank you very much. Thank you. Namaskar.
Thank you.